Jay Sidebotham, the one-time vicar of St. Bartholomew's Episcopal Church up there on Park Avenue in New York City, preached a sermon a number of years ago that makes reference to one of the most influential photos of all time. Time magazine did this listed the 100 most important photographs that kind of capture history. And the photo is titled "Jewish Boy Surrenders in Warsaw." Taken in 1943, the black and white photo shows a little 6 or 7-year-old boy with arms raised under the gun of a German soldier as a crowd of frightened people watch. In a sermon, Father Sidebotham shares a poem written by American poet Jane Flanders many years later. She probably wrote this kind of in the mid-1980s in response to this photo. She titled her poem, "The House That Fear Built," Warsaw, 1943. I am the boy with his hands raised over his head in Warsaw. I am the soldier whose rifle is trained on the boy with his hands raised over his head in Warsaw. I am the woman with lowered gaze who fears the soldier whose rifle is trained on the boy with his hands raised over his head in Warsaw. I am the man in the overcoat who loves the woman with lowered gaze, who fears the soldier whose rifle is trained on the boy with his hands raised over his head in Warsaw. I am the stranger who photographs the man in the overcoat, who loves the woman with lowered gaze, who fears the soldier whose rifle is trained on the boy with his hands raised over his head in Warsaw. The crowd, of which I am each part, moves on beneath my window, for I am the old woman too, who shakes her sheets over every street in the world, muttering, "What's this? What's this?" The simple poem that takes on the rhythm of a child's riddle speaks gospel truth. That we are all in this broken world together. And fear is known to each one of us, the crowd, of which I am each a part. Now I know you know something about fear. So do I. On Friday morning, I walked across Burns Road to visit a 31-year-old on life support from a fentanyl overdose last Saturday night, a week ago. His family, who was trying to get down here from other parts of the country, asked if I would pray with him. After 25 years a priest, I still can't get used to walking into ICUs to find a strapping young guy lying in purgatory, his life on the balance while those who love him watch their deepest fears come true, the walls of that house closing in upon them. I've also been visiting all week Rena Williams, a longtime member of St. Mark's and just 60 years old, my age, who only a month ago stood right here and read the lessons at the 10 o'clock Eucharist. She moved into hospice yesterday from ICU where stomach cancer is killing her. Rena's hands have shaken in fear this week, trying to recover from surgery last week, but knowing her deepest fears are coming true, fearing any decision that must be made. Her sister Vivian and other family members and families surround her but feel closed in, isolated in their house built with fear. But fear doesn't just, rear its head around matters of imminent life and death. Fear surfaces, even in buildings like this, in the church, where God is too often portrayed. God is portrayed as the one to fear. He's the heavy enforcer, the prison warden, the delightful assistant principal who gets to, kind of decide the punishment for the offenders. God, who's always heavy on punishment and light on mercy. Believe in kind of my Jesus, my way, or risk your own damnation, fear says, as the walls go up, even within the church. Just look at the politics of our world this day. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out that conflict and fear go together. From foreign policy decisions to domestic agendas, from immigration battles to these trade wars, we can all understand the wisdom of that Trappist monk, Thomas Merton, who says, the root of war is fear. The house that fear builds, of course, comes in all kinds of shapes and sizes and styles, but the walls upon it keep us closed off and separated, leading us to isolate ourselves and then to make sort of demons out of those on the other side of those walls, on the other side of the world, the other side of the country, the other side of the political aisle, the other side of town, the other side of the street, the other side of the pew, the other side of the family dinner. It is a crowd of which we are each a part. I know you know what it is to live in a house built by fear. But I'm so glad you came to church this morning, because I actually have really good news to share on this summer Sunday. Those homes in which we all live, they don't have to stay that way. We have someone who can help kind of rebuild, rearrange, renovate. And his name is Jesus, who, as the old hymn suggests, that Jesus who charms our fears and bids our sorrows cease. That name that is music in the sinner's ears. That name that is life and death, life and health and peace. It's who our friend Jairus, right, turns to when he faces the death of his daughter. Mark says his little daughter, even though she's 12 or 13 years old. As a leader of the synagogue, Jairus, would be kind of a local celebrity in a small town way. He might be at St. Mark's, on the vestry, or maybe the senior warden. He's the one at the church who makes sure the lights are going to be on and that the lawns are being mowed, and he listens to the complaints of the worshipers after the rabbi's sermon last week. Even though he's kind of a leader, he's got a bit of a reputation to protect. You know what? This morning, he doesn't care what anybody thinks about him. He is absolutely desperate. He falls to his knees, begging Jesus to come into his house, a house that is now lit by fear, and to make his daughter well. But as Jesus leaves and walks with Jairus to his home, he sure takes his sweet time getting there. I so admire Jairus. I don't understand how he did it, to have the patience to wait for Jesus to heal this unnamed woman along the way. She too has asked Jesus into her place of fear. Only she has been sick for so long that everybody in this town just expects her to be sick. No one really cares anymore. They can't even remember her name. She's not dying, for heaven's sake, some in the crowd think, as Jesus feels her cry for help and turns to her and sees her and walks straight into her fear. Go in peace and be healed of your disease, he says to her. Because you can only imagine Jairus just kind of pulling on his elbow like, I need you now, Jesus. When he finally makes it to Jairus' home, where fear has already slipped into despair, right? We all know that feeling. Jesus tells Jairus, do not fear, only believe. Your child is not dead, she is asleep. Talitha cum, he says. Little girl, get up. Oh, sure. That all sounds so great, doesn't it? So kind of romantic. Such a good feeling story back there in the Bible. A story that happened to someone else, to somewhere else, maybe sometime a long, long time ago. But what about all of us? What about John, who's living over there on life support this morning? Or Rena, who is in hospice? Or what about you? Have you asked Jesus for help? Can you even hear Jesus speak these words in whatever house fear has built for you? Do not fear. Only believe. Little girl, little boy, old man, old lady, get up. Get up. Get up and give your hearts to life. Give your hearts to generosity. Give your hearts to the wideness of God's mercy, like the wideness of that sea. Give your hearts to love. That's what Jesus means when he says, only believe. When fear drives you into isolation and despair, get up. Don't fear, only believe. Believe that the way to moving forward is not in the posture of fear with your arms up and your heads down and your fists tight like it's 1943 in Warsaw again. Open your eyes. Open your ears. Open your hands. Open your hearts to others, knowing that we are all in this together. We are not separated in houses of fear, but we are linked by faith and by trust that God will provide for us, that God will always bless us, and that God will free us to give to one another without fear of diminishment. That is healing, my friends. As surely as the woman knew when she touched Jesus, and as surely as Jairus' daughter knew when she awoke. As we celebrate this week, the birthday of the greatest nation this world has ever known, may we invite Jesus again into our homes. Because something is terribly wrong. Something is making us very sick. Something is scaring all of us. We are so afraid, and we are turning against each other. But we are in this together. The crowd of which I am each part moves on beneath my window, for I'm the old woman too who shakes her sheets over every street in the world, muttering, "What's this? What is this?" We are a community. We're a nation that has been built on the hope of the gospel, where no one need to live in a house built by fear. We are loved by God with a perfect love that casts out all fear. We are called into a community that has been forged by grace, by God's amazing grace. Do not fear, only believe. Jesus commands. Invite him into your fear, as did Jairus and our woman with the flow. Open your hands at this altar and receive him anew. You can't hold fear and receive love in the same hands. And when we open our hands to release our fears, we follow Jesus into the world with trust, with hope, strength, courage, generosity, humility, kindness, and grace, and dignity, and respect, and love. We get up. We get up and we walk straight into the arms of each other. Fear turns to love. And we will know life and health and peace in our living and in our dying.